Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L and now let's talk My Hero Academia chapter 157. Okay, cool. New week, new chapter of My Hero Academia. Let's start talking about it. Okay, so before we get into the meat of this, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. One for all, full cowl, that was never a power-up. That was a training wheel program. The point of One for All's full cowl was to get Izuku to a point that he could safely use 100% without destroying himself. The only thing stopping the kid from using 100% is the whole injury issue. So removing the injury issue just means that Izuku gets to go to his natural 100%. Okay, cool. Because I saw some comments revolving around this. Just want to make sure all of us on this video are aware One for All full cowl is not a power-up. It's a pain management device. Before getting into the video, let's do it this way. I'll ask 5 questions, guys, and you guys can just fill it out in the comments down below. They're just questions for me to understand like how you guys are also feeling about the chapters and all that. First question, do you think Eri's quirk is convenient or a cop-out? Second, what do you think about Chizaki? Do you like it when heroes are facing off against monstrous enemies? Or do you think like this whole monster kind of angle is kind of taking away from My Hero Academia's, I guess, precedent for fights? Third question, can you think of any logical reasoning for why Izuku has Super Saiyan-like hair? And the fourth question, do you think Night Eye saw this far in advance and everything's still going according to what he saw earlier? What do you think? So let me know down below and let's get into the chapter. Alright, so let's just start talking from a structure point of view, and just when you look at what's happening in this chapter, it's actually pretty simple. A good chunk of the chapter is spent understanding what's going on with Eri, and then we have the other part which is pretty much a setup for Shizaki to try and to get back up to Eri and deal with Midoriya. Man, I have to switch my pronunciations a lot now in this. Anyway, so you know, when you easily look at it, it's just very simply Shizaki and Izuku are in a tug of war for Eri pretty much. Izuku accidentally uses One for All and ends up going too fast, and then the reveal is Eri's reverting him at some kind of rate, and then we end off with Izuku deciding he can go into 100% because the injuries are about to get counteracted by Eri. So like really it is a simple chapter. The real value of the chapter is going to be talking about, I guess, the logistics of Eri's quirk. And I guess you could also have something to say about Shizaki's rhetoric, but at this point, like, Shizaki is just a guy who thinks he owns the world, and he clearly has some kind of attachment to Eri, even though it's not the type of attachment that goes, "Aw, he cared about her." It's more like a kind of attachment that he felt he could use her like a gun. Anywho, let's talk about Eri's quirk. So last week we talked about it. I had my ideas on it, and I remember someone in the comments did mention that Eri's quirk was probably reverting people back to a time when they didn't have quirks in the gene pool and all that, and I thought that was a cool idea, and it would make sense for why she can damage quirks. But then, you know, at that point it meant that she wasn't just, at least to me, it meant that she wasn't just reversing a person's personal history. She was reversing concepts. And so with this chapter, that idea is kind of, I guess, further explored, because Shizaki says a pretty interesting line when he says that Eri could probably reverse people back into monkeys if she really wanted to. And that's kind of interesting. Now, I don't think that DNA has a memory component. If there's someone here who knows DNA, please let me know in the comments. But I'm pretty sure you cannot replicate, like, say, 50 generations back. You can't replicate the DNA of someone that was 50 generations back with your current DNA. Like, maybe you can extrapolate it if you plug that into a computer, but I don't think the DNA itself has a memory component. I might be wrong about that. But then when you go back into Chizaki's little comment about the monkeys, if that's true, and assuming the DNA doesn't have a component, it means that Eri isn't just reversing someone's personal history, she's reversing concepts tied to people. And that's what it seems to be when you look at Shizaki's monkey comment. And that's kind of incredible. Like, that's a bit That's really overpowered if you think about it, because she's reversing concepts, not the actual reality of the situation. So I'm not going to get too invested in that because I don't know, I don't know what kind of thing this is going to be. I don't know how far they're going to go with that. But if it's reversing concepts, that's a pretty big deal. Anyway, another thing to talk about is Eri's rate of reversing, because that seems to be one of the big parts of Izuku's strategy, that he's just accruing damage at a rate that would cancel out the reversing rate pretty much. So when you look at that, now this is just interesting because this is a question of, okay, is Eri reversing states of people or is she reversing them in time? Because when you look back to Shizaki's problem, he got reversed back to when he split, to when he was a separate being. When you look at that, it all happened very quickly, even though he had spent many chapters in that form. So my question is she reversing things linearly, or is she just reversing people back to previous states? So like Shizaki's state is like separate, then he got fused. So the moment that her reversal quirk activates, is she just reversing him from that state back to regular Shizaki? Or did she reverse him through time? So all the time that he spent as a fusee, he just kind of got, all that got undone and now he went back. Because rewind is like the word that we're using here, it makes you feel that we're not skipping a long time and it is going linearly, it's just going very fast. And we kind of get that idea with Izuku as well, because Izuku uses his power, destroys his legs, but Eri reverses the damage on his legs, and then while he's in her company, he starts feeling pain in his body. Where that pain is coming from, I don't know. Is that reversal like working on him and trying to reverse him to another state, maybe when he was destroyed earlier? It's really hard to tell. But if she is taking Izuku back through time, then it would be reasonable to assume that she could reverse Izuku to the point before he first broke all his arms, and then he'd give his arms like maybe another good 10 years of work that he could put into them. You know, because if it's like that, mind you, the only thing that might be stopping that is the fact that Eri can't control it. But if Izuku was willing, because it seems that this is happening like slow enough, because he was in her presence for long enough that he started feeling pain, but he wasn't being just completely erased. I'm thinking, you know, there's a lot of potential for abuse here with that quirk. It all depends on how fast people are being reversed to the previous states. So I don't think this is going to be something that's going to be explored. I think the author is just going to leave it at, yeah, you know, she's reversing things, but Izuku's hurting himself at a rate that's canceling out. I think he'll just leave it at that, make it nice, clean, and simple. Because we start thinking about the logistics of the timing that it takes for Eri to reverse anything through time, I think holes will pop up, because this is a really overpowered quirk, but I really think it's going to be optimized to be used in a way that the story makes it the most convenient, right? So even though this thing could potentially go out of control, because the story needs it to do something, its rate of reversal is probably going to be constrained. So there's really no need to think about that aspect of it too much. There is one other aspect though that should be thought about, and that's the drawback aspect. Because we know that all quirks have drawbacks. The question is, what drawback does this quirk have? Well, if we look at Recovery Girl really quick, we know that the drawback of Recovery Girl's quirk is just that the body's natural healing ability, that's what she's accelerating whenever she uses her quirk on people. Eri's quirk is different, since she's not healing people, she's just forcing them back to a previous state. What will that do to a person's body? No idea. Will Izuku be out of commission for days because he had reversal acting on him? Is it the kind of thing that just takes away people's vitality, so they're pretty much just having to sit in bed for a long time? I don't know. Is it the kind of thing that affects Eri? Like, does Eri accrue all the damage that she's reversing, or like whatever? It's hard to tell. Like, there's gonna be a drawback to this. We just don't know what it is, because right now, this is like a miracle power. And there's really no way to get around that idea. So yeah, you know, it's gonna be interesting. Props to Izuku for deciding he could do this. And truthfully, I was as surprised as Izuku was when he all of a sudden ended up in the air outside of the tunnels. Cool stuff though. Now, aside from Eri's power, it really is a simple chapter, because again, like, if you look at it, a lot of it was spent getting Eddie out of Shizaki's grasp, and then figuring out what Eddie was doing, and then the people in the downstairs figuring out how to go help Izuku. And we had the whole thing that, you know, Izuku's going to be killed, and the other combatants just can't reach it because they had their stamina stolen. So, you know, it's going to be an interesting thing, and it's going to be interesting to see Shizaki try to use the stamina stealing power that he has from his other fusee. But with Eddie there, it's going to be a thing where like Izuku might lose stamina, but then Eddie is reversing him to a point where he had stamina. So it's just going to be funny to see this happening. Izuku's pretty much fighting at All Might level right now, so I'm excited. I'm excited to see this. It's going to be cool. We've seen Izuku do 100% smashes before, but this time it's going to be amazing. So yeah, shorter video today, guys, but I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below if I missed anything or if there's anything else that was worth talking about that I might have overlooked. But I think we're pretty good here.